Hello, hello. Oh, light is terrible. Oh, there you go. Happy Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. Um, my lighting's a little off today because I just turned that off. Um, I have a light that normally sits over my right shoulder, and my cats chewed through it. They chewed through the cable. Hello, Hans. Indy. Um, and I stripped back the wires, twisted it back together, taped it up. What I thought was reasonably well. I've done it, many times before. And apparently I didn't do it well enough. Um, and it caused a short, blew a circuit breaker. It needs help. And I don't have my wire strippers and my tape here. So we're going to try to play around with the light here as we go. I have a couple lights that I don't have on. But we will figure it out. Well, YouTube is chatting up a storm here without me. You almost don't need me here. The mouse wouldn't work. Yeah, so I just unplugged it. It's been one of those days. Because I took it apart, the cable apart, and I looked at it, and it just fell apart. So I need to, I don't know, I need to do it again. Yeah, it's solder and heat shrink tubing, yeah, which is what I've done for certain things in the past. And I have all that. I usually forget to put the heat shrink tubing on before I solder it. So that happens about 50% of the time that I forget to do that. And then it just doesn't work if you try to add it on after the fact, even if you slice it down the middle or whatever. So anyway, so we got that. I'm probably going to be interrupted here in about 10 minutes. My daughter is coming in to do some photography, so I'll have to take a brief 2-minute break to disperse some guidance on what she's supposed to shoot. So we have things ready for the podcast on Friday. So if you'll forgive me in advance for that, that'll happen as soon as she's on her way. And I decided to clear off the space where I wanted my lathe today. Now, keep in mind, I've had this thing for 10 years, at least. I've never so much as plugged it in. I brought it home from the Detroit Pen Show where I bought it. Promptly put it in my basement. I never used it. So I took it out of the box not too long ago, set it up on my side table. Like, you know what? Let's plug it in and let's see if it works. And so what's the first thing that happened? Now, it does power on. It does power on. It does spin. The belt, one of the belts, promptly broke. And then I just noticed there are a number of pulleys that I don't know if they're supposed to be connected. There are no belts for two of the other pulleys. I guess reading of the manual is in order. Or I need to get in touch with somebody who knows lathes that can look at it and go, well, this is what you need to do. And that's really would be helpful. I actually have a customer who probably could do that. You saw that coming. Only one set of pulleys at a time. Okay. Well, the interesting thing is there was another belt in with the stuff, but it was not the right size. So, we'll see. I just hope it's not another 10 years before I've accomplished getting it out of the house, which is a step in the right direction. Yeah, it needs some help, I'm sure. But the one guy I know can help me hasn't, won't return my calls. So um, he's moved on into retirement. Read the manual and do all the checks. Hope it doesn't end up in your cart at a future Chicago Pen Show. I really would like to get it. I really like to get it working. I just know nothing about that stuff. That's not my brain doesn't. I learn very slowly on certain things, and I need it helps if I have somebody who's with me who can say, well, this is what it does, and this is how you do this. I mean, that's how I've done. That's how I've learned a lot of my repairs. Joel Hamilton has sat over my shoulder and said, well, this is, you got to do it this way. And, you know, um, text you the model number. Okay, I will. But anyway, it's been a busy day, and here we are. So I'm hoping tomorrow, I'm looking forward to tomorrow because tomorrow's not going to be as busy. He had a friend that bought a used Volvo and went to the local garage. They told him you only needed one belt for the dual belt. That's fine if you don't mind having the battery die on you when you're on the road. Okay. It spins though. It spins. All right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow because I've been working on a project that I kind of hit the end of today. So that means tomorrow morning I've got free time to work on another project that I'm trying to finish up. And then I'll have more time to deal with stuff. So today, let's take a look at what we got today. Is that better? That's way too light. Is that better? Obviously, that's not going to be it. I want to reassemble this guy. We'll see if this bar is salvageable. Usually my experience is, so you're going to be able to turn some custom pens in the lathe setup. Well, it's technically a metal lathe, so I guess you can turn whatever you want to turn on it, but no, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I know what I'm going to do with it. I have a tool that I want to make, and I want to try to get more into Schaefer vac repairs, which you really pretty much require a lathe. It's going to be a slow burn on this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like middle of next year before I finally got something cooking. So we got this guy. We'll reassemble this. We'll try to get this out of here. I've got a bag of parts here for snorkels. I got a couple extra snorkel tubes in here. I'm going to look at the snorkel tube that's been soaking. I want to get this last snorkel done. Does the lathe have a 3 or 4 jaw chuck? I think it's 3. This is not a hanging bar. This is just a two-piece bar. Although technically it should be a 3-piece because it's a streamline. So I don't know how well that's going to work. And then, okay, so we got a snorkel, the snorkel that I want to finish up. And then I have these two guys that just came in, both backs, 51, Demi, and a Junior. They were in that consignment lot. We got that. And then at least we'll get those started. And then I want to test those other pens that we consignment pens that came in, the vintage ones. I was told that they're in working order, so we're going to test that theory and go from there. So, sound like a plan? All right. I have so many pens here. Yeah, Hans, I was gonna send you a picture. I was all proud. I got it, took it out of the box, which it's been in the box for I don't know how long. Got a nice little spot on a corner of a table that I can just kind of literally I can just wheel over like this, and it's right there. I turned it on. Belt broke. I mean, I looked at the belt and it was like they took this piece of rubber and they like you can tell they just like heated it together, so it came apart at the the worst possible place. Well, I don't like not having this light. Guess I know what I'm doing tomorrow. There's actually a thin coat of shellac on this section. With Unimat lathes, it may have two belts. The second smaller one would drive the power feed if equipped. Yeah, I got to read the manual. The manual's from like 1960 something. I mean, it's hilarious, is what it is. Still gonna need some heat on. Hello, Rayon. So I had a funny thing happened today. Oh, give me 1 minute. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. My daughter is here taking pictures, so I just had to show her what needed to be done. So funny thing happened today. I had an appointment for somebody to come in this morning, and an old customer who she broke her ankle or twisted her ankle or something, and um, was in rehab for months and months and months. And because it was she busted out a knee. I mean, it was just the whole thing was pretty grim, and she's finally back up and walking after quite a long time, and looking great, moving around really well. And she wanted to stop in and pick something up, and so she came in, and this is not a store, right? This is essentially it's a warehouse that has a repair bench and a place to take pictures and a shipping area, and that's really what it is. Um, People can come in, but if you want something, I got to kind of pull it off the shelf and bring it to you. And she was looking at a couple things, and she started getting a pile of stuff together, and she was, okay, that's good. I ring her up. I never thought she's got cash. Like, oh, well, I don't have any change, so I hope this comes up to an even dollar amount. And we made it. We made it work out. We got pretty close. We got within 25 cents, I think, 26 cents. But as we get to talking, it turns out that we actually both worked for the same company on the same floor when I was working in IT. She was in the call center on the west side of the building. I was on the east side, and so she would have been the person that if I was on call and somebody called in with the problem that she couldn't fix and she had to escalate it to the sysadmin team, she would have been the person to escalate it to me. So there's a strong possibility that I had talked to her on the phone previously, because she had been there for yeah, it's a small world. She had been there with the company since 1975, if you can believe that. When I was 4 years old. But she was in the service desk, and she would have been the one that would have called me. Now there's a number of people in the service desk, so it is entirely possible that we never did speak. Um, but she told me exactly where she worked, and I knew where that was. Um, and because it was right next to the CEO, who was famous for walking around the floor without shoes. So he'd be in a suit, but like no socks, no shoes. He would walk around. He said, "Oh yeah, it was by him." I said, "Oh, well, I know exactly where you were. We were, okay." So that was kind of fun. All right, let's see if this works. I just don't think this is going to work. Because it's not the best solution. But the section is tight, so maybe it'll work. I'm going to try it with water first. And one thing I do like to check, you had two second cousins in grade school that we didn't know we were related for several years. I do like to check. Sometimes we don't think to do this until after we're done. Is screwing on the blind cap. Because sometimes if the button sticks out too far, because the pressure bar is out too far, when you screw this down, you actually slightly activate the bar, which then pushes ink onto the feet. So in this case, it's not happening. You may need to bring back the cash drawer with a few dollars just in case. You carry a bit of change in your car for the 1 in a million time a client wants to pay cash. And I completely forgot because as I recall, she was always a cash customer, which you always appreciate. She's like, well, I can do a card. I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna make this work. If I have to, if I gotta drive over to your house and give you the change tomorrow, and she lives like 3 blocks away from here, which is really fantastic for her. Because she has to do her, and she somewhat joked, but I'm certain she's serious. She has to do physical therapy and she has to do walking, and she says, "Well, I can walk over here and I can count that as my physical therapy." Okay, yeah. So I'll probably have to have a little small cash drawer, you know, just a $20, 4 ones of, I mean, at the bare minimum, right? 3 quarters, 4 dimes, a couple of nickels, 9 pennies. Yeah, a regular visit from a good customer, you're welcome. Yeah. And she doesn't sit here and, I mean, we had a nice chat, but she's not one of these people who sits here for an hour and a half. If she's talking, she's shopping. So that works out. But she got to try, we looked at some inks and she got some paper and a Twisby, and so it was kind of fun. All right, let's try it out, huh? Actually, let's do this first. Yeah. Now that I got water in it, I should probably spin it out. It barely fits in the spinner. Well, that's nice. Ah, nice. The nib has got kind of a little bit of a slight bend in it, but it's a perfect bend, and it's just a smooth writing nib. I'm not even gonna mess with it. So good. The only button filler you have is a modern Esterbrook. You have one of those push piston things. It's really technically not a button. It's closer to a Vacumatic than anything else almost. Well, this is he'll be happy with this. Yeah, I mean Vacumatic without the diaphragm, it's got a breather tube and yeah, that's nice. I need one of these, don't I? In my life? I I don't need this in my life. I really do. Oh man. It fills nicely. It's a nice filling pen. I guess the question is do I there's a little bit of oxidation on that blind cap. Do I Dr. G that off? You would sell me mine. You think it has a flexible broad nib on it? I don't I don't want to know what the price is on that. I'm already trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this deal we got cooking without we'll all be happy with the end of the deal, but I'm going to buy too much. I just know it. I don't yeah, it is way too late for my collection. It's nice though. It is nice. The guy was going to collect all the senior. I could do all the senior duofolds. Well, not Pompeian and not all that stuff. I don't think I'm going to Dr. G this. I think it looks fine just the way it is. You can see there's a little bit of olive there. Sounds like you might owe some trade needs to complete the deal. Yeah, I don't. It's pretty though. It turned out really, really nice. Yeah, I would, for what my client bought this for, I'd have bought it all day long at that price. I wish I could find them at that price. Um, so now it's just gonna be, boy, isn't he gonna be surprised? He was just here on Monday. I'll send him a bill. He'll have it on Saturday. All right. That's how I like to do it, though. Let's get it done and get it shipped out. All right, let's. We're gonna start. We're gonna start in on two other repairs here. I tried dyeing hard rubber pens. Never even thought to do that. Is that a thing? Do people do that? Yeah, this is a little weird one. Like, why does it have a speed line on it? Date coat is completely worn off the barrel. Pensbury Manor, mate. If you're talking about the black hard rubber uh, blackener, it's. I hate to say this, I really do. Uh, it is not a good product. Do not buy it. Um, it's like a paint. It's street. You essentially are. If you polish the pen, it comes right off. Um, and it's not a good thing. I mean, it'll get it black, but you'll get frustrated trying to get it to look like you didn't take a paintbrush to it. I mean, it'd be one thing if it's stuck and you just needed to work on your technique, but Can't believe how much I missed that light. Holy cow, is it dark back here? If you want to blacken hard rubber pens, there's really only one product that works, and that's the Dr. G's solution. Um, I know I've been saying this for a while. I will be carrying it at some point. I just haven't gotten around to. Every other brand needs my attention, and the minimums are on the Dr. G's are reasonable, but higher than I need to buy right now. So can't buy everything all at once. You know, it's a bad sign when there's plier marks on the section. It's moving though. And since it's got such a small section, this is the one of those cases where I do like to use man, section pliers. what they used. Black. Well, that was stuck in there. Something fierce. All right. Nib. Soak that barrel. That breather tube is pretty short. I mean, I know they're supposed to be short on 51 demis, but the extractor isn't on his site. Do you know if he's making more? I haven't spoken with him in a while. I know he was looking at redoing the tooling or having it redone so he could bring the cost down. Yeah, this is bits of old diaphragm in here, Juicy. Yeah, we last spoke, I think it was last year in Columbus. And I'm just going to let this soak. I told him, I said, you know what? Honestly, I mean, he was going to give me a moderate wholesale price. But it wasn't it just wasn't where I needed it to be to justify having to buy, you know, so many units. to use a brush or micro mesh to get the last out. No, what I do is I'll soak it, and I'll continue to use my pick until it's out. You'll never get micro mesh in there. Never get that in there. So this is going to tease me with this pellet sticking about 2/3 of the way out already. My backup job as a dental assistant. Pellets, no, pellets are like hard plastic. They're a little ball. Which is why they're a real pain to get out. The repair itself's not that bad. It's just that this is the trickiest part of it. And I guarantee if you don't have the right tools and you don't do it slow enough, you're going to break a lot of filling units. And you won't like it when you have to start buying filling units because they break. I think modern pens will last as long as these pens are working on. I don't know. I guess it depends on the pen. This pellet cup is very fragile. Oh. And that's what happens. And there's really nothing I could have done on this. It just sheared away. It's that brittle. And this pellet cup is useless at this point. you have a bad history with Vax. It's not difficult work. You just don't care to do it. This is the part that I hate. Because nobody makes pen pellet cups. And the people who actually make, there we go, it came out as one. Replacement filling units, I mean, they're just not cheap. They make the price of the pen, the repair is beyond affordable. Yeah, this is just, you can, I don't know if you can see this. But this is how brittle this is. It's literally, the whole thing is destroyed. Old pellet cups are available? Well, I mean, you might as well buy a whole new filling unit. You done?
Yeah. I have it in the case and everything.
All right, very good. Love you. See you later.
Okay, bye.
I mean, if you're going to replace a pellet cup, it's like, and if you're replacing it with an old one, I don't know where they get old pellet cups. I mean, you'd have to take them off of filling units. I believe they are hard rubber, yeah. I think Joel used to turn them on a lathe. But I mean, you know, it's a ridiculous amount of work to make one little part. That's why I like the speed line, because it won't break. I mean, other parts of it will break, but not that part. Yeah. All right. Yeah, they could be made, but you'd have to charge over $100 each for the part. You might as well just make a whole new filling unit. I've been trying for years to have filling units made, and I got close once. And my manufacturer kept telling me, "Oh, well, I'll have some for you in a couple of months." A couple months would go by. "Oh, we're almost done. We'll have some for you in a couple months." A couple months would go by. "Oh, well, it'll be a few more months yet. We're almost done." I mean, we're going on 5 years now. Easy. They sent me one, but it wasn't right. It was nice. It was really nice. But we also need it not to be a $75 filling unit. You know, if we can manufacture them so they're in like, I mean, 35 would be a great price, right? I'd buy all I could get at $35. Everybody would have them in hand on stock. I mean, 25 would be even better. You know, on the repair side of things, you got to buy it, you got to charge your customer. The more expensive it is, the more ridiculous it ends up getting to be to the customer, you know. Although a speed line in a 51 would be 3D print. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about 3D printing to know. All I know enough about 3D printing to know that almost no part is affordable. That's what I know. Pendragon sells them, huh? Do not see them. Yeah, I was selling plunger units for 35 pounds sterling. Yeah, they got a lot of parts. Well, I guess they have them for 8 pounds, huh? Hmm. Might have to be the way to go. But you know, I got to find someone in the U.S. because it's overseas. It's going to be expensive to ship. All right, well, I'm going to assume that we are going to get something figured out on that. I'm going to assume that he wants something figured out. Pop that in there for now. Most 3D printed things still need to have some polishing, and with such a small part would be almost impossible to do. Yeah. Anybody know of anybody with a lathe? Asking for a friend. Your brother and you discussed 3D printing pen parts at length. It was not economically feasible to continue down that. Yeah, we had a discussion too last week. The one part that I think is economically feasible is still not economically feasible. And he talked so far over my head. I'm out. I was like, yeah, no, let's not do that. All right, so this doesn't have a blue diamond, so I can drop this in the ultrasonic. It's a junior, so it doesn't have a blue diamond. I'm just gonna drop it in here. Grab myself a diaphragm. At least we can get the Vacumatic working. And for the record, that's like really the first vac filling unit in a long time that moves, because I still have one that I haven't been able to get moving. That broke, and we've repaired a lot of vacs this year. But it's clearly it's reached that brittle stage. Really, nothing was gonna. You could have done it for much less if you outsourced the design and production to Eastern Europe or South Asia. Paying a U.S.-based developer for the work would get expensive quickly. The parts that my brother designed for my own project would have cost thousands if he had to pay the bills. Yeah. Yes, I know. So I need to win the lottery so I can like make all this stuff for everybody that everybody needs. So that we can continue to use these pens for a long time into the future. it's really a moot point if we can get a filling unit made that's reasonably inexpensive. The irony is the one prototype that I had, it was somehow, and I'm not certain how, it was slightly too big. And it cracked the barrel when I inserted it. If your brother suddenly becomes interested in 3D printing again, he might want to design random things as intellectual challenges, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. If your source can manufacture them, it'd be ideal. Yeah. What I don't know is, A, what the cost is going to be. I'd like to think the cost is going to be reasonably affordable, because I have to make enough. I have to make money, but I also have to order. Well, what's the minimum going to be? My source makes a bunch of pen tools and pen parts, but the minimums are like 1,000 units. Like I won't sell 1,000 units in my lifetime, my daughter's lifetime. Whoever buys the company after that, I mean, we won't sell 1,000 units ever. Yeah. Well, it was like, when I first had the PFM point holder gaskets made, I decided, you know what, there is no way. There is no way we're going to ever sell out of these things. It'll be my contribution to the hobby. We'll make some of our money back. It'll take us years and years to make money back. But it'll be my contribution to the hobby. And we'll never sell out. Except when we went out of business, everybody's like, holy crap, we may never get these again. And then everybody bought them. So, yeah, it was a little different. So we did sell out. So I had them made again. And I said, this time, there's no way we'll run out. We'll see. Now I don't know. It could be 200 units on the filling system. Which is still a lot. And if they cost me $30 a piece, that's a lot of bread. I'm kind of giving up hope that my manufacturer's ever going to make them. So Whatever they use for adhesive here is really tacky. Yeah, I was thinking about naphtha. There's just enough in it that it's hard to. Maybe. Almost looks like rubber cement. Yeah, it's something different. It's not. It's coming out black. It's just a little bit at the end. I know that's not. Cleaning up. It seems to have done a little bit of good work, but good until there. I'm sure if I put a little bit of heat on there, I could get it to go, but I think what I'm going to do is I don't want to open this twice. Is I'm going to put a little shellac on there. Not that it needs it, but just in case. And then heat it and see if we can get it shut. Interestingly enough, with the little shellac, it actually sealed up. Which I would have thought it would have done with silicone, but what do I know? All right, so let's do this. Spin it out. We'll test it tomorrow. That'll give me time to see if I got another pellet cup on a bad filling unit or what we got going on for this 51. Or see if the client even wants to spend that kind of money. Might be advantageous for him just to offload the pin. Do both at the same time, just for funsies. That's some nice barrel transparency. Pretty decent. You know what? Let's at least just pick this clean if we can. Or at least some kind of turquoisey ink in there. lot of schmutz in there. I guess let us not forget we threw that collector in here. This one might be permanently stained. All right. That we can test tomorrow. At least the back. We'll figure out what the client wants to do with that 51. Next up, I am going to replace they're all bad for testing purposes. That one. This snorkel tube. It's not perfect, but it blows through. Yeah, it seems to be a good tube. That's not gold. I just wanted to see if it's. If it's a tube problem or if it's a sack problem. And I'm guessing, based on the way that so that tube worked. Not the right one, but it worked. Tells me there's maybe just something jammed in here. I can blow through it, but it's not. Well, it sure seems. promising. Solid gold, not plated. First year snorkel tubes are gold, solid gold. I get about 1 pump worth of ink out of it. It's definitely feeling better than it did before. I guess I just have to set my expectations sometimes that these aren't. Maybe it just needs a little bit of sealant and it'll even be a little better. You think it looks okay? It's just, sometimes you get them and they really, they squirt out a real healthy amount on first and second attempt. How dare you be distracted? Oh, hey, we got a little blue light there. That's. I think whatever was in there. I think there was a little bit of something in the when I pulled the shot glass out of the ultrasonic. There was a little something in there, so I think there was probably something in there that just needed to be cleaned out a little bit more. All right, so you bought a new coffee grinder this morning, so you did get one. You're looking at ways to modify it already? All right, so let's see. Did we look at the caps? I forget. Oh, we didn't clean the caps on these. I probably should just do these. A used commercial unit. Oh, okay. Can you schedule it so that when you wake up, it freshly grinds your beans and then sends it to the coffee machine? This would be for espresso and quite manual. It's a gorgeous machine. Okay. Sounds like fun. For the life of me. You sold a pen last night, so you figured you might as well get it? Nice. I used to have an espresso cappuccino maker when I was in college. For the life of me, I can't remember what the heck I ever did with the thing. The frother didn't work very well, but I have a feeling I wasn't using the right kind of milk and it was fun for a while anyway. Whole milk, yeah, that's probably at the time I was a 2%er. It just wouldn't froth. It just wouldn't, you know. But I didn't know anything. I was really ignorant at the time of all that stuff. I just thought it was cool to have a little espresso machine. I think it was a Krups. I think is what it was. You know, your standard consumer grade unit. Although I recall it being, well, you know, our perspective is always different, right? I recall it being very expensive at the time, but then again, when you're in college, um, if it costs more than a case of beer, it's probably pretty expensive. All right, well, we'll let those. We sealed these. We sealed these already, didn't we? Yeah. All right. All right. Our next task for the day is we're just going to test the filling system on all these pens. You got your espresso machine free from a friend. You had to restore it. It wasn't cheap in timer parts, but it was fun. It does sound like fun. I have a ghost. Box fell off the shelf. All right, Diamond Point. I would say that fills. Got some schmutz in the lever area. I just kind of. Messing around with coffee stuff is a nice distraction from pens. Yeah, that's a smooth nib. It's definitely 0.9. I'm sorry, 1.1. This is really a good looking balance here. We'll spin them all out at the same time. Sure seems tight. That seal is really tight. All right, let's see about the swan here. I like this. It's got a black kind of an insert at the top with the swan instead of a marbled top of the cap. That holds a ton of ink. Nice medium nib. Well, we're going to be repairing that one. Not always my favorite shaper to repair, but yeah, it would be a challenge to use that on restore. That is for certain. You are correct. it's a nice pen, so it's worth the effort. That's the quietest pressure bar I've ever heard. Nicely. A little bit of buildup inside the box made this lever stick. Mm. I think that's a no. Mm. Maybe you just needed to fill. Yeah, I think it's just writing. It seems like it's writes nice. They've all been, yeah, yeah, it's fine. They've all been reasonably well taken care of. I think maybe they've been in a human environment. I see signs of corrosion on some of the metal pieces on several of these. Or they were cleaned and put away before they were dry, maybe. Of course, if I can unscrew this, yeah, a sack is fine. All right. Last but not least, this cutie. Really doesn't look like it's ever been inked. Obviously got ink in it though. Some of these inexpensive pens really had some serious J bars in them. They're very strong. Pencil mechanism seems to slip, but I'm not going to screw with it. I don't think you're buying that set for the pencil. Well, I know you're not. I mean, maybe you are. Looks like it's never been inked. KKA contains a half a bottle of desiccated blue-black ink. Yeah, it was cleaned very well. Or tested at the factory. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Some makers even ship their pens with ink already in them. Yeah, yeah. More did that, I think. Shipped their safeties with ink. And it was on the price label. You always soak a new old pen and end up with a jar of ink. Yeah. This is a really nice pen. I wish it wasn't marked on the end, but everything else about it is really pretty great. I mean, all things considered, that's not a lot of ink out of all these pens. That's pretty good. I do like it when clients ship pens that are pretty much clean and ready to go. Where do we sit on engravings? Try to obliterate or not? Leave them as is. That's where we sit. Um, Pretty much nobody's going to do a good enough job to make them go away. And it's going to end up making the pen look worse. And quite honestly, I like a little bit of an engraving. You know, and the fact of the matter is there's almost always an unengraved pen if you don't like one that's engraved. You don't have to buy, you know, like this this swan that I'm doing here has got like a 3-line engraving. Yeah, you have engravings that are far more interesting than the pens themselves. Yeah, and you know, if you saw my Waterman 58 that I restored a couple months back, somebody tried to scratch off a name on the 58, and it really just they didn't do a good job. But that's a case of, well, you know, what are you gonna do? You know. It's a 58. How many do you see? What really chaps me is when people try to remove them from overlays. You know, I have a couple of, I've had a couple of snail pattern overlays in the past, and you know they tried to get rid of the engraving, so they just you know buffed it down. It looks awful. They got the metal too hot. It warped. It's brassing. I mean, I know it's talked about in the it's talked about in the Marshall and Oldfield book, but unless you're Marshall or Oldfield, no one's going to do it right. You have a vanishing point that was scratched down to the brass-like metal under the lacquer to try to remove a neat engraving. It's now worthless. Yeah. Yeah, I love, you know, my opinion has always been, particularly with overlays, if you get an overlay that doesn't have an engraving on it, it looks naked. It looks wrong. Now, sometimes people did really, like, they were not factory done engravings, in which case it looks bad to begin with. So, you know, find another pen if you can, I guess. All right. 440. Gotta be going, Juicy. All right. Up early. Have a good evening. Thanks for tuning in. All right, these are all the same client, so we're just going to put them all together. So if memory serves me, this particular pen may have a threaded section. Probably does, based on the fact that that never lines up, which is really kind of one of your telltale signs. Question is are we going to be able to get it open? It has to have a threaded section. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's threaded. Yeah. I just hope it opens. Okay. I never understand why they put a threaded section on these pens. It never lines up nicely. It was a very long lasting conspiracy to drive you crazy. Started before you were born. Yeah. Like my mother always used to say when my dad was complaining about something. My dad's name was Ted, and she would say, someone just said, "What can we do to piss Ted off?" I know. We'll do this. We'll make a threaded section for a lever filler. And usually right after that, my dad would shut down. He'd be like, okay. Had less breakage with threads. I mean, I do appreciate a threaded section. I mean, there's something to be said for it, but I just can't deal with the OCD of that lever being like on the side or on the bottom, or, I mean, not even at a, you know, a 180 degree from the nib. It's like, you know, 15 degrees off or something, you know. It's not needed here. Not needed to line up. But it would be nice. No, a threaded section is not needed. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's just not needed. It's just silly. Or make it so that there's some kind of adjustment. So that it'll line up perfectly. Right? Because it boggles the mind that Walter Schaefer said, you know what? That's okay that it doesn't line up. That looks good enough, right? What'd you miss today? You missed a broken pellet cup on this bad boy here. And yes, I used my middle finger on that. Vacumatic, what did we do? We got a snorkel. That snorkel to finally fill. We tested the Duofold Senior from yesterday. She's done. We tested all the new consignment vintage pens to find one that was not anywhere remotely ready. The rest were pretty good. One with the bad sack, one with a section that needs to be sealed. Your oversized balance is off slightly. Well, that should be a threaded section, or a friction fit section. Yeah, this one was like, it wasn't even, you know, it's not like it's 45 degrees. It was like 38 or something, you know, goofy. Give me 45, 90, 180. Well, don't give me 45. I guess 90, 180, 270. 45 would be awful. Yeah, don't open it up. Don't line it up. Unless you know what you're doing. Well, you know, yeah, when you're knocking out a nib and you don't need to. Not only do you risk damage, you risk, if it's a Parker, If it's a Vacumatic, you risk not getting the damn thing back in. Those things have a pact from the devil. That material will shrink in the time it takes you to, from the time you knock it out soak it, get it out, clean it, and put it back in. They're evil. Yours doesn't line up from the lever to the clip. Oh, well, I mean, you mean the cap and the lever? Yeah, then, I mean, you got a couple thread starts, but a lot of them don't. In fact, sometimes sometimes it drives me nuts if I'm taking pictures or I'm having my daughter take pictures of vintage pens. We're like, well, it's like, it'd be like that. I mean, it is what it is. Boy, there's a lot of ink in that nib. $4.53. The only way to fix that would be to fill in the threads with liquid celluloid and cut them again to try to get it to line up. Yeah. Yeah. I want to see that stream. I want to see that stream. Just let me know when it's going to happen so I can have popcorn ready, right? Oof. All right. I don't need this anymore. Well, thankfully, you don't write with the cap on, so, right? And actually, if this helps ease your mind a little bit, you almost don't want a lever filler to line up the clip and the lever. Because think about it, if it is offset, if you're going to put it in your pocket, it reduces the risk greatly of the lever catching on the top of the pocket and flipping up and flipping ink into your cap. So, if it helps, think of it as a feature. probably not intended in the design, but because every ad for every lever fill pen always shows the clip and the lever lining up, right? But let's go with the positive. When your hands are slippery, it's impossible to turn the ultrasonic off. Well, this is going to line up pretty good with what I need to be done here. I do love these Schaefers though. These fat lever fillers with the dots on the bottom, conical nibs. That's a gorgeous pen. The Schaefer or the back. I think the Schaefer is great looking pen. You have to remember to bring your favorite one of these next time you see me. It's ridiculous. Does it have like a stupid broad stub nib or something on it? Because that's what I would expect to see. Autograph model with the music nib. Yeah, called it. You do love those special nibs. All right, so we're going to do that. And I got just a couple of minutes here. I'm just going to seal up this touchdown. Let's get this done and out of the way. And then I'm done for the day. I'll call that a success. Ever feeling triumph is so nice. Everyone should own one. I don't know if I have one. I'm sure I got one in the parts bin that doesn't open up. I'm sure of that. But that doesn't count. Maybe I'm the exception. It was made 25 years too late to fit in with your other pens. Maybe 35 years. Well, you got to remember, Hans. I actually first started collecting. I guess I should have done this. I should have opened this up before I got the stuff out. My first pens that I started collecting were Schaefer balances. My first one wasn't oversized. Literally, my first before Esterbrook even. Thoughts on collecting across brands versus within one or two? Absolutely collect across brands. Collect everything that interests you. Because here's what's going to happen. If you pigeonhole yourself into one thing, say Esterbrook's, you'll have a nice collection after some point in time. Esterbrook, Vacumatic, whatever, you'll have a nice collection. But you don't get the joy of experiencing other makes, other models. And what fun is that? And so what will happen? I'm going to sneeze here in a second. What will happen is that at some point, you'll be frustrated with your decision to say, well, Brian told me to collect all sorts of stuff. And you look in your pen chest, and it's this mismatched bunch of stuff. So what you'll do is at that point in time, you will systematically start pulling things out that no longer interest you, and then you will trim things down to a nicer selection of what does interest you. And then you'll say, oh, well, I didn't really like all this stuff anyway. I liked, as Hans says, unique or unusual. I like unusual nibs. But you might not have experienced that had you only collected Schaefer balances. Or touchdowns or snorkels or every Esterbrook on the planet, you know. because no one brand is going to be able to tick all the boxes that you want. And so Hans brings up a good point. Maybe he should have stayed away from vanishing points entirely. Well, everything is an education. Had you not gotten into vanishing points, would you not have gotten into Japanese pens? Would it have happened, but maybe it wouldn't have happened in the same way? You met a lot of good people doing it. Well, you met me. You never know. I don't regret ever buying anything. Well, maybe that's not entirely true. I gotta clean up this ring a little bit. It looks pretty nasty. I don't know that I believe in destiny or any of that kind of stuff, but I think we find our own path, and I think we're better for just about everything we do. So I would have not wished to have gone out of business, but it has allowed me to rethink. I've consolidated, so. And I just think that there's not a lot of variety. In any particular ever receive an unknown 50-pound package from you, it will be your vanishing points to sell. Be afraid, everything does happen for you. You have more than 50 pounds. Without boxes. Oh, okay. But I mean, seriously, I've always said, there are too many people in this hobby that are afraid to make mistakes, especially on the vintage side. They think that everything has to be about profit and loss. It has to be about profit. They got to buy at the right price. They can't, they put too much into it. They paid shipping, whatever. I've always said it's rent. What mistake did you make? Learn from it. Can you learn from it? And if you can learn from it and not do it again, and it makes you a better collector, repairer, whatever, it's well worth whatever the mistake was. Sometimes. I mean, like there was a guy on somebody on Reddit I just saw a post yesterday. Had a Sailor Rialo and they couldn't get the cap off, so they had a buddy hang on to one end and use a pliers and to see if they could unscrew the cap. And of course, they cracked it. Well, okay, that was an expensive mistake, right? So, hello. You read that one too, Jason? Yeah. I was thinking, like, what are you? You know how much those things cost now? They're insane. Really, really insane. You know, and after I put this on, I realize
Drunk patient today.
you had a drunk patient without me.
That's all I can say. Anyway, I'm gonna go.
Okay, I am almost done. I am almost done. I realized this pen is not done. On says hi. I realized there is something missing on this pen, and Hans will know what it is. Does anybody know what it is? Now that I've sealed it, we're going to have to open it up tomorrow. Yeah, the trim ring's missing. Trim ring right there. Well, shoot. I got one around here somewhere. But yeah, you only see it after it's sealed. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but you're like, oh. Hey, but at least we saw it, right? At least we saw it. You have a ton of you need. Oh, I'm pretty sure I have. I bet I got some. Thank you. If I need it, I'll let you know. I think we're gonna call that a mostly successful day. Mostly, save for that 51 Demi. We'll figure out what we're gonna do with that. We'll figure that out tomorrow. I'm not worried about it. Have a great evening, Hans. See, tomorrow's Thursday, so last repair stream of the week. We'll get a couple of these will be finished. We'll just have this 51 probably that'll be left over, huh? We'll seal up the snorkel that we did today. We'll finish that off. I guess I need to come up with, unless, have a nice evening, McEnthusiast. Yeah. I guess I gotta repair some of my own pens now, unless somebody sends me some pens to repair tomorrow. And I don't think there's any. Oh, I got one more. I got this one I got one to test. I got a it's a vac fill that the knob came off, so I put the knob back on, but we'll see if it fills. If it doesn't fill, then I'm just gonna send it off. I'm not gonna mess with it since my lathe is in a state of disrepair. So anyway, we'll find something. I got a Skyline over here, a 51 vac, a weird Eversharp, bunch of other stuff. So we'll come up with something tomorrow. So have a great evening, everyone. A great morning, great afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Be kind, be well, and we'll catch you tomorrow. All right, take care.